And there's nothing more offensive or provoking than a family member's love.
A warm welcome to you all. The holiday is coming up. Easter Sunday. Grandma has made you that pie she's made for 20 years. What do you tell Grandma? I'm JJ and I eat mostly meat and I'm a life coach.
I'm Eric. I eat mostly meat and I write novels.
This video is all about those carnivore nightmare situations where you're faced with people who may intentionally or unintentionally be sabotaging your success.
And so what do? It's Easter Sunday, you've gone to Grandma's house, everybody's there, all the good food's there.
Well, in our family, it was ham, scalloped potatoes, Hungry Jack.
Right.
Remember?
Oh, I love those.
Kringle, we're Danish. Well, you're not Danish, but...
I'm Swedish, but I'm not even that.
The jelly beans, the chocolate eggs, Cadbury eggs.
You've changed to ancestral eating. You're eating the proper human diet. Maybe you've gone carnivore like we have. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to go into this environment like we are about to do in a few days. Mm-hmm. What do you do? What do you tell Grandma? Sorry, Grandma, you put hours into making that and you put a lot of love into it. I'm not eating it. Does Grandpa approve of that? Does your mom or dad or Aunt Petunia?
What does Aunt Petunia say? Pursed lips of disapproval?
Aunt Petunia always has this face. And she's got a lot to say about various people. She's not pleased. One of the obvious things, why can't we call up Grandma and Mom and say, I know the holidays are coming. Before you make that thing for me, I am not eating any carbs, any sugar, any bread, no rolls, no potatoes. Yeah, I'll have the ham or I'll have the turkey or whatever it is we're having that's meat, but that's all I'm going to have. And I just want you to know in advance so that your feelings aren't hurt. Will that work?
It might. We just had my mom give me the menu for her Easter that's coming up. My grandma's actually passed away. Mm-hmm. And I was able to tell her, why don't you just skip the gluten-free dessert? She was going to make 2 desserts. Just skip it.
Yeah, especially because you're the gluten person.
Right.
People will get you the gluten-free pizza and they'll get you the gluten-free
Which
dessert.
Which is so kind.
Because they love you. Mm-hmm. And then you're like...
Not gonna eat it. So that's worked for this particular situation. I can see a situation, though, where you might tell Grandma that, and she might think that she has to come up with a whole new menu or to get you that, well, what will you eat? Yeah. And then that might cause her more work.
Yeah, because they love you and they want to feed you if their love language is food. Mm-hmm. Not everyone's is. Some's love language is pursed lips of disapproval. Because if your grandma is Aunt Petunia, I think we got other suggestions.
We do have some other suggestions coming up.
So one of those things is when your grandmother was still alive, and I would occasionally do keto back then, well, she knew I loved the Hungry Jack, and she also knew that I loved pecan Kringle. And she would make sure to get that specifically for me.
Yeah.
And so I would show up and go, oh no.
And she had eagle eyes on him.
And her eyes were this color blue, and they were on people's plates. If you did not come for seconds, she would come out to the living room, because we didn't eat at the dining room table at that house. She would come out, there's plenty of food, and she'd lean in with these huge eyes of expectation, and it didn't matter if you were hungry or not. You went in there and dutifully got another plate full. Mm-hmm. The whole fly under the radar and fast, or just don't eat it, did not work in that specific case.
When I went gluten-free, she was ill nearing the end of her life. I didn't tell her that I was gluten-free because I didn't want to add that to her plate when she's already making food and she's sick. So I was able to fly under the radar with that and just not take the buns and not take the Kringle. But her food she made me were pickled cucumbers. So I would eat that, but fortunately it was gluten-free. So I was able to fly under the radar to a certain degree. So you might be able to just move the food around your plate. I did that recently. Oh no, I did it on the cruise. I just moved the food around the plate a little bit.
Well, who you were trying to hide it from?
I don't know.
You didn't want the wait staff to go, is there something wrong with your food?
That's
I will get you more food.
No, I don't want more food.
No, I will get you 5 more entrees.
No. That is why.
Yeah.
You nailed it. So you might be able to fly under the radar. And one way that you did do that on occasion with my grandma was you might have brought the kringle home.
Grandma has made the pie for you. If you have a tiny sliver or something to satisfy her need, because she's 85 and this may be the last Easter with her, that may be a decision you make. And then say, oh, it was so good, I wish I could eat more. Can I take some home with me? Mm-hmm. Now, she may say, how did you like that pie you took home? And then you've got to be savvy on how do you answer that question, because you don't want to lie to grandma.
No. I want to say, though, if you decide to eat the food, I want to be really specific that that's a choice you're making, and it's a good choice. It's a choice made out of love. It might not be the great choice for your body, but love, connection, for whatever reason you consciously made that choice, you have to then let it go and not feel shame or regret or guilt around that choice you made.
Yeah.
Make it with full knowledge and then let it go.
Some families have a totally different dynamic where it's just the natural rapport is combat. There was an Italian family that I was a guest at, and I was like, these people are on the verge of an entire family divorce at any second, and it was the farthest thing from the truth. Their love language was fighting. They didn't even take it that personally.
Yeah, we come from reserved sort of Scandinavian, Northern European stuff.
You could just be like, no, I'm not eating that. I'm just eating meat. People will be like, what's wrong with you?
You're going to die.
You're going to give yourself a heart attack eating only meat. So what? I'll have a heart attack. You can come to my bed and tell me how you told me so and make my heart attack all about you. I mean, if that's your rapport, then you got no problem, because you can just go in there and be blunt and do whatever the heck you want, and it's all fine, because if people's feathers get a little ruffled, well, their feathers get ruffled all the time. But that's not how I would do it.
Is there a strategy? Say you're not the combative family. Mm-hmm. You don't want to fly under the radar.
Yeah.
You aren't going to appease and take a little. Mm-hmm. What do you do? How do you communicate at that point?
Well, it depends on if you have to be right and you want to argue the specifics of your choice. Because there is that urge to say, you know what? Here's what's true about diet. And you may want to go off on how carbs are going to cause diabetes and they're going to cause heart disease, inflammation, and acid reflux and high blood pressure, because you know these facts to be true. And you can make those assertions, but the person on the other side of those assertions is like, no, the USDA guidelines is eat vegetables and fruit and grains and lean meat in small quantities. Everybody knows that who can read. That's what the science says.
So I don't think trying to convince people is probably the best way to go about it, usually.
No, unless you want to fight at the holiday.
As I mentioned, I'm a life coach, and we have this concept in my coaching called fear junkies.
Okay.
It's from the Fearless Living Institute. Almost everyone there, like pursed lips Aunt Petunia, really wants to connect with you through food or through criticism.
Yep.
But she actually loves you and wants the best for you. That's 9 times out of 10, the person who is skeptical, the person who might think, boy, those dietary guidelines are the truth, really are telling you that because they want you to be healthy and they love you. Yeah. Or they want to connect over this tradition you've had your entire life of having Kringle on Sundays.
And there's nothing more offensive or provoking than a family member's love.
So you're provoked by their love, but how do you communicate? Like, if you're not going to say, I'm going to try to convince
You
them.
don't want to escalate, but you want to maybe explain why you've made this decision. And one of the very simplest things to do is to say, it's doctor's recommendation. And that may be all you need to say.
Yeah.
And it may not even be technically your primary care physician.
You never said primary
No,
care.
you just said doctor's recommendations, and I can think of Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Baker, Dr. Ovadia, Dr. Sivas, Dr. Hampton.
Dr. Eid. Lots of doctors.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a prevarication or equivocation, because I don't remember which is which. Maybe that's all you need to say.
Yeah, that might work. The other thing you might want to do is just talk about your personal experience. And again, not to try to convince, but just to say, you know, I'm doing this experiment with my diet, and I have to tell you, my HDL is better since I've been eating this way. My acid reflux is better, and it seems to really be working for me. So I'm going to continue with this experiment.
Yeah, maybe you've dropped 5 or 10 pounds and you're feeling better. Maybe your brain fog is lifted. And maybe you can even say, you know, and then I had a bread or I had a sweet treat and all of those things came back. And so what I'm doing is an elimination diet so that I can experiment with adding back foods in. But right now, today, I really can't add those back in because I need to give more time to this way of eating. That's a reasonable approach that many reasonable people would go, okay, I guess I can see that. Even if they're not sold on you eating only meat, they might understand the idea of food sensitivities because almost everybody's got a food sensitivity of some sort.
Yeah, people get that these days.
The other thing you can reference is that, you know what? I thought this was crazy too, but I keep seeing all of these doctors who operate clinics for people with obesity and diabetes, and they're using this with amazing results, and people are coming off of their insulin, off their metformin, their cholesterol is normalizing, and it's by eating this particular way. And the thing that I didn't realize was that no vitamin, no mineral, that isn't in meat. And I thought you had to eat veggies to get it, but it's actually not true. You can kind of take their side and say, you know what, I kind of was as skeptical as you were, but seems to be working.
You're giving them that agreement.
Yep.
That works well. There might be role models that you can reference as well.
Yeah, I think that's a powerful
Yeah.
one.
So we're looking at, I always want to say Lou Ferrigno. It's not. I don't know how Lou is eating. But there's Ferrigno Freedom, Carnivorous Me with Amanda, Homestead How, Steak and Butter Gal, us, JJ and Eric. There are lots of people out there on YouTube who are sharing their success stories. So they might not be doctors running clinics, yet that evidence, more and more and more evidence of just real everyday people seeing these massive changes in their life is pretty amazing. So you might want to reference that.
I think one of the final ways to do it, unless you've got a really contentious relative, and if this is the case, you probably don't really care what they think, is let's just agree to disagree. This is my body. I don't want to eat these foods, and it's not personal.
Yes.
And just leave it at that.
If your family member is coming from that place of love, they don't want you to be sick either.
Lead by example. The next holiday that comes around, you're going to look different. You're going to feel better. You're going to have less inflammation. Your blood sugars will be in control. You'll probably have lost more weight or had more body recomposition that's visible to the others. Eventually, they're going to look at you and go, that crazy diet. Tell me about that again. Because they're going to want what you have.
Yeah, they will.
And that's when you're going to be in a position with love to send them to JJ and Eric's YouTube channel and all the other ones and say, binge a bunch of their videos and kind of get inside that way of thinking. If you have questions, I'm happy to be there and answer them. That's the best way to kind of become a role model. If it causes some sort of controversy at this one event, it may actually be the seed that grows into health and vitality for multiple family members as they see what you're doing is working.
And I think that's the vision to hold.
Yeah.
is that you may impact the lives of others who are in your day-to-day world. And you don't do it again through trying to convince them. It is really a big portion of it is leading by example.
Of course, when you come back for Christmas and you're all yoked and slender and have de-aged by a decade, like, look at me now! You thought I was insane. It was you who were stupid.
I don't think
I'm going to lord it over you. With love.
with much love.
Oh my God. Now we do have to acknowledge the saboteur.
Yes, we do. So I had mentioned earlier, 9 times out of 10, that person wants what's best for you. They want to connect with you over a tradition. They love you. But that one, in fearless living terms, we call it a rival in disguise. And it is that person is out to sabotage you. That person is the one that once they've heard about your diet, they are going to buy you candy. Like specifically in your Christmas gift is going to be candy. So you have to watch out for that person. They may love you in a way, but they do not have your best interest at heart. And one of the best things we can do with a rival in disguise is not engage with them as much as possible.
Yeah. It's tough sometimes because they're attached to the family.
Yeah, it could be a sibling or something, yeah.
But if you've got a long-standing relationship with them, you already know who she is. And you'll be on the lookout. If you're just starting.
Oh, yeah.
And like you're 2 weeks in, and this Easter Sunday or whatever holiday it is going to be a smorgasbord of temptation. And it's going to totally interrupt your progress or send you down the wrong path for days or weeks or months. Maybe you just don't go. If grandma's 89 and this may be her last, you gotta go. But there are situations that you just don't want to go in, and you need to protect yourself. So if you got a relative who comes to you and says, I want to get in on this, send them to this video.